Thank you. We're supposed to have a panel debate and discussion on liberal markets and wealth disparity, but it's not going to be much of a debate or discussion because we're liberals talking to liberals. It'll be like preaching to a choir. The issue really is how to get this debate out there in the public domain. And the one point I want to make is that we need to reframe this debate in such a way as to make it resonate more and fit more with the context in Asia. And why is that? Because if we think about it, first off, the commitment, the ideological commitment to smaller government and freer markets in Asia is relatively weak. Governments in Asia widely are seen by the poor, for example, as a source of largesse and handouts, and by the rich as a source of patronage and connections. So how then should we reframe or try to reframe this debate? First off, I think it's important to try to reframe the debate or refocus it away from focus on inequality of income or wealth to inequality of opportunity. Why? Because when we focus, as we know, on inequality of wealth and income, the debate naturally goes into things like trying to redistribute wealth and to more about handouts and subsidies and whatnot. And we've seen throughout the region the terrible effect that subsidies, whether it's of rice in Thailand or energy in Indonesia, has had on markets and on public finances. But if we refocus the debate in terms of inequality of opportunity, the debate naturally goes on to more things about like access to quality education, which are issues which will naturally resonate with the emerging Asian middle class. Right? So it's a way of trying to get this debate again in a way that people will engage with more. The second way to reform or refocus the debate is again to try to shift it away from inequality of income and wealth to more about equality of treatment, especially equality of treatment under the law. Rule of law, control of corruption, all these are issues which will naturally resonate a lot more with the people in Asia. Why? Because as we know, throughout the region, corruption perception, indices and whatnot tend to be quite high. And secondly, right, people tend to believe, right, or see that people in power are seen to be above the law. In part, I think this represents or reflects the fact that governments in the region have not been terribly representative of the population. If you look, for example, at the heads of government in many countries in Asia, they don't really look like the average Joe or the average person in the population. If you look at the wealth of the leaders in, say, Malaysia and Thailand, right, their wealth is about 14,000 times and 9,000 times that of the median household in the respective countries. Contrast that with, say, in the UK or the US, where the US is about 260 times, in the UK it's like 54 times, in Australia it's only 9 times. Right? That extends also not just to the heads of government, but also to the members of parliament. If you look in Thailand, for example, and look at the assets of the MPs the 500 MPs that were previously in our government, their wealth was higher than 99.999% of the population. So in the case of Thailand, they represent not just the 1% of the population, but they represent the 0.001%. So reframing and refocusing the debate, right, away from this discussion of smaller governments and freer markets, but more towards these things about equality of opportunity, equality of treatment, especially equality of treatment under the law, would help not just only, I think, help us get more people engaged in this debate, have it resonate more with people, but also very importantly, I think it would tend to mitigate the worst impacts of inequality. And what do I mean by that? Because it's not just inequality that people really care about, right? No one really, I think, begrudges seriously the fact that Steve Jobs or Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are rich. Those guys are number 1 and 2 on the Forbes list. But people, I have 30 seconds? Yeah. But if you look at the list of the top richest people in Asia, right, they tend to be in what kinds of sectors? Sectors that are highly regulated by government, that have concessions, right? People in property, people in alcohol sector, people in tobacco sector, right? So issues of governance, and people feel that people become rich because of connections or unfairness or lack of transparency. Those kinds of things tend to lead people to be much more resentful of wealth and inequality. Thank you, let me stop there.